everyone, welcome. Today we're about to launch TWT yet again. So in November 2019, the TWT team is in a deep dive session throwing ideas on a whiteboard, excited to prepare our 2020 unconference. We had established our commitment as hosts and animators of the unconference and the desired outcomes we wanted for participants. Our goal was to inspire people to disrupt the status quo, shift their mindsets, and guide them to find the courage to move from fear to excitement. Bringing themselves to make an internal shift. We thought of the 1 degree shift, a small but powerful change that allows us to move into a new direction, breaking our routine, fueling our potential. We wanted it to apply in any sphere of their lives where they felt they needed that push. January to February 2020, well, booking the venue, aligning with keynote speakers, updating the website. It's coming along nicely. March 2020, COVID-19 pandemic, closure of venues, closure of all non-essential businesses, lockdown. For societal security, the shift was imposed on everyone and at the same exact moment in our lives. We had no choice. We had to shift to survive as individuals and as a society. Days and months went by. We would meet as a team and discuss the emotions we were going through, disbelief, scared, anxious, etc. Questions such as, when will this end? Is my family going to be okay? Will my business survive? Wait a minute, what about our TWT event? We had to jump from fear to excitement, and that took us a while. We no longer had the opportunity to host our community in a venue. We had to adapt, we had to shift, we had to find ways to continue our mission. Here we are. We changed venue in hopes of remaining close to you and continuing to move our mission forward. Coming back to the 1 degree, did you know that there's only 1 degree difference between hot and boiling water, and that 1 degree difference can cause enough steam to move a train? That's the premise of a book by S.L. Parker called 212, The Extra Degree. In it, we find countless of examples of the difference of 1 degree, 1 action, 1 word can make. A couple of my favorites. 1 extra mortgage payment a year can drop a 30-year mortgage down to 22, and if by eliminating 30 minutes of television or social media a day, you can free up 182.5 hours to allocate elsewhere. That's more than 4 weeks. It doesn't take much to make a big difference. What's holding us back? Most of the time, it's fear. Here's another fun fact. Fear and excitement share the same physiological response in your body. In both instances, your heart rate may increase, breathing intensifies, feelings of butterflies. The only difference between fear and excitement is in the language your brain is using. An excited brain will say, oh, cool, versus a fear brain will say, oh, no. How do we use the 1 degree and find the courage to move from fear to excitement? Well, that's what TWT is all about. As we gear up to our next unconference, we'll be hosting a series of conversations to share real-life stories of personal, team, and organizational perspectives. Without underplaying the devastating impacts of this pandemic has had, it's also an opportunity for those who opt to take a step back, reflect on what they've learned about themselves, their teams, and their organizations. This pandemic has served for many as an excuse to bring forth new ways of doing things, which bears the question, why do we need an excuse? Why do we need to have the building on fire? Before the pandemic, many organizations were debating the pros and cons of working from home. Some went as far as allocating resources and funds to scope out the project, and yet many of those organizations were able to go virtual within a week of COVID-19 being declared a national emergency. Before the pandemic, team meetings, interviews, onboarding were in person. This is how we build rapport and connections, experts would say. And now we are Zoom SMEs, and fighting morning traffic or flying in and out of Toronto on the same day for a meeting seems ridiculous. Many 1 degrees have been put into play at the individual, team, and organizational levels. As we are inching our way back to a sense of normalcy, how will this play out? Will we keep our 1 degree mindset? Our TWT web series will be focused on sharing 1 degree stories at the individual, team, and organizational level. Today, we have representation from each of the TWT sponsors. They are very eager to share their 1 degree story. Let's start with Carolyn Samney, co-founder of The Pillars. Now, the Pillars is well known for supporting business and cultivating a human organizational culture. In your words, Carolyn, what does that mean? And how has this pandemic reshaped how you do business?
Thanks, Cindy. So for me, what does it mean to create an organizational culture that's human-centric? Means that leadership is something that is not centered in one area, but that's really distributed and given to large numbers of people who hold knowledge and expertise in their area. And it means people being able to bring their whole selves to work so that we don't have to compartmentalize and sort of check ourselves in at the door. So that being said, having lived through COVID-19, it's almost like our mission has been accelerated because the fact that we've had to go home and we've had to now work in very sort of unconnected ways, even though technology connects us, there still is a level of disconnection in that we are each sitting in our own little space. And we've seen that leadership de facto has been distributed. Because we've had to make quick decisions, leaders have had to let go to a certain extent of certain levels of control. We've had to share now power, if you want to call it that. So we've seen that little 1 degree that maybe would have taken a long time in traditional methods have been accelerated. COVID put us into a place where now leaders had to let go. They had to trust that people were going to make the right decisions, are going to do the right thing, and that they have enough capacity to make the right decision. So for us, it's been an interesting journey that really we thought would take years to see happen in terms of shaping how organizations lead, shaping who leads, redefining what it means to be a leader. All of a sudden, within a few months, we've noticed that these conversations have become more commonplace now, that leaders are letting go, that they are okay with people making decisions who are better suited to make the decision. So it's been a very interesting perspective to see. So as much as there's been, yes, negative, that's been definitely something that we've noted as definitely a 1 degree, and if not even more than 1 degree, is we're starting to see more distribution of leadership within organizations and more trust de facto being built. So that's been very inspiring for us.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing. And I like what you say about bringing your whole self to work, because for many years we were told, you know, who you are in the office and who you are at home, and you had to put on this persona when you went into the office. And I think having to do our meetings from home, people are brought into our homes, so they see us in a different light. So why not be authentic and throughout all the time?
100%.
Yeah. Great. Okay, well, thank you. So next up, Sally DeRosa. She's president of HRWise. HRWise is a cloud-based HRIS company, and they are based out of Montreal and composed of certified HR professionals. So obviously, Sally, you guys were already equipped to go remote. Was there any unexpected outcomes, though?
You're right. We were equipped to go remote, and there wasn't a big shift there. The shift was actually that we were already supposed to work from home 2 to 3 days a week. We didn't do it. We really like each other's presence. So we were kind of forced to do it when it happened, but we were absolutely equipped. One of the very first things that happened, and it was recommended by somebody internally, was we implemented daily scrums, which seemed like this thing that you have to do if you're a developer. And in fact, it was recommended by our developer. But having said that, it has brought us so much more value because at 8:45, before anybody hits any 9 o'clock meetings with clients, we get to see 12 other lovely faces and catch up on one another and how things are and offer up help when we have the time, ask for help when we need it. So I would say that's the thing that's kind of tied us the most, and I'm forever grateful that that idea came up. After a few weeks, though, of what everybody called Zoom fatigue, I think because, you know, we were trying to connect, we were putting our videos on, we were playing games, we were having coffees, we were having lunch, we were doing what we wanted to do to stay connected. And then we realized that, you know what, beyond that, the building really is on fire. And we got past kind of the immediate burn, but when you realize that COVID-19 is so much more than just, you might get a cold when you walk out. And then at the same time, we had kind of another pandemic going on in the world, racial pandemic and inequalities and all of those things. And it felt a little bit selfish of us to not look outside of our little box and not, think about the other concerns. Were we going to make it past this year financially? Yeah, good for us. Like, thank you, government, for helping us out. That's awesome. But, it started to feel a little bit unethical almost to not see the world beyond our little noses. So that's kind of the one most unexpected outcome, is that we started to have some really interesting conversations. We are shifting our internal culture, our external branding to speak about things that matter to us, not just technology, not just HR professionals, but we want to work with organizations that care about equality, both within your walls and outside of your walls. We want to work with organizations that know how to be charitable, want to be charitable. We've talked at length about what matters to us at the core and how can we get involved out there to do that 1%. What's the 1% we can provide to those other purposes beyond what we know on a day-to-day basis? So I would say that is our biggest and most important to me personally outcome, that we were able to make that shift where we went from just kind of a team of colleagues who had fun to a team of colleagues that cared about similar things and wanted to work towards that goal.
So that's amazing. It created that moment of self-awareness as individuals, but also as a team, to maybe think back, like, why are we in business? To your point, right? We can have the bottom line results, but there's a bigger world out there and we need to tap into that. And I think the pandemic has provided that opportunity, right? Like you say, it's not just the pandemic this year. There's Black Lives Matter and all this other discussion that's happening all around the world. It's nice to be a part of it and get our businesses to be game changers in that as well. So awesome, thank you. So last but not least, I have my colleague Alida Eid, Manager People and Culture at PVisio. So PVisio is a vibrant, diversified group of professionals who believe that growing entrepreneurs are more successful when they focus on their strengths. So Alida, what are you most proud of what PVisio has done?
So I was very happy to see how quickly the firm, but also the team members were adapted to the changes. And by adapting, I don't mean that it was something that was super easy for them, but what we were offering as a firm, and it came very naturally, that we just started listening more one to another to see what we were going through exactly through the changes. So emotions were very up and down, and we were kind of following that curve of how people were doing. And also we had the right resources to be there in every stage of these types of emotions. So I was happy to see that there was a lot of opportunity for people to let their personalities and skills shine during that period, because I think we've mentioned it before, we were all very caught up in our day-to-day. We had our routine, our comfort zone. We all go to the office. We used to work from home from time to time, but most of our time was spent at the office. And we had this routine going. And I think this pandemic was, COVID-19 came and kind of disrupted the entire dynamics, I think, and forced us to talk more to each other. So as a firm, I think I'm very, very proud of seeing how much we've listened and acted on what our team members were saying. And then as a team at PVisio with my HR team members, from one day to another, we went virtual, obviously. So every single conversation or touch point that we had in our calendar became a virtual touch point. We had a team meeting also on a weekly basis just to catch up. And again, so it happened on the micro side of things, where our team was also listening to what we were going through. exchanging responsibilities and stuff. So if someone was feeling down or overwhelmed, there was someone who was picking up, for them. And in terms of our services for our clients, what we did is, again, very important. We listened to what they were going through and tailored our programs and approach to their needs. So it could be in terms of service, but also cost, and so on. But so I'm very proud of how attentive and we've practiced a lot of active listening during that period of time.
Excellent, a key skill. And I like that you mentioned that it wasn't easy. It's not to confuse 1 degree as something that can be simple as something that's necessarily easy. And that's why in TWT, our theme is really the courage to move from fear to excitement. It doesn't take much, but it still at times can require some courage to actually be one of the outliers or ask that question that's going to get people thinking and reflecting and sharing. So thank you for sharing that. So as we mentioned, our TWT, it's going to be a web series. This is really a launch up to the TWT Unconference. When will the Unconference be? We don't know. What is it going to look like? We don't know, but why wait, right? If we wait for everything to be lined up and perfect, it'll never happen. So we're focused on passing on our information, on sharing our stories, and we'll be hosting and interviewing other businesses as well, so that it's not just us, it's really about what's happening in our world, what's happening with our clients, and share that information with you. So we'll be talking about different 1 degrees, like you said, at an individual level, so really leadership. What does it mean to lead? Because it's one thing to say, okay, great leadership and it's shared, but who helps the leader in all of this? So we're going to be looking at that angle. We're also going to be looking at a team angle. So how do teams shift? And it's different for each team, even within a same organization. And also at the organizational level, like Sally talked about, changing, even reviewing our purpose. Why are we in business? And sometimes, again, it doesn't mean changing. It just means reminding ourselves, why did we start up this business? What are we trying to accomplish? And ensuring that whatever we're doing in this new world is going to support and continue to support our mission and our vision and so on. So we hope that you'll join us for more of these web series. There'll be more information as it comes along. Thank you for joining us, and I wish everyone a good day.